Yes, the 52nd Shabbat of the year, last Sabbath of the year. Next year, it will be on Tuesday for our Shabbats. And like I said, I'll be moving the midweek Midrash to Saturdays. And then, of course, our Sabbath fellowships will be on Tuesdays. And yeah, I'm excited. This next week coming up, being in Missouri, tracking the equinox with everybody. It's going to be fantastic. And we'll be able to observe the head of the year together as well. Yeah, we've been gathering over a year and a half here in this fellowship. Yeah, we're fellowship 68 this week. And we haven't missed a week, so happy year hats. I mean, sure. Whose house? Actually, Sister Marissa and her husband Bobby having a little gathering there. They were kind enough to allow it. Yeah, so how you track it? I know I shared a couple videos. I know Natalie's shared a couple videos of her personal trackings in the library group, but you can get a board, preferably like as smooth as possible. And it's best to paint it white so you can see the markings and things like that. But you get a board and get a nail, like a good size nail. You don't want it too short, but you don't want it too long either. And what you do is from the sunrise to the sunset, about every 15 to 30 minutes, you're going to mark that tip of that nail, like with some kind of marking with your pencil, like a dot or a line or something, preferably something that's easily movable with a straight line device. And so from morning to sunset, on the day of the equinox, all your marks that you put on the tip of that little nail, it's going to make a straight line on that day only. So if you put like a ruler up to all your markings, they should come, perfectly aligned with the straight line of your ruler. And I've also suggested using, those laser markers, because a laser is perfectly straight as well. So if you can shoot, like the kind you hang on the wall, they hang pictures and things like that. It also works on the floor as well. So if you could use one of those and line them up and see how perfectly straight it'll be straight on that equinox day. Every other day it's going to have a curve one way or another. Yeah, no worries, Sister Rebecca. Have a good dinner. All right, Jackie's got her board already. Of course, the weather though. That's that's a roll.
Yeah, so funny. My husband yesterday made the comment and was like, what if it's cloudy that day? And I said, why would you say that? I said, no, we're thinking clear blue skies right now.
Exactly.
Hey, I have a question. Is the New Year's Day, which is Saturday, right? Is that actually to be observed as a Shabbat?
Yeah.
It's the head of the month, so yes, it's a day of remembrance.
Okay, so is every head of month supposed to be observed as a Shabbat, a rest day?
Just the season, just the head of the season.
Okay, so those are 4 extra Shabbats every year?
Yeah, they're the 4 ordained Noah days, and they are days of a Shabbat, just like the weekly Shabbat, and that's as per Ezekiel and Amos. And Ezekiel, we see that the gates are closed, but they are open on the head of the months and the Sabbaths. And then in Amos, it talks about how the people were complaining, you know, oh, when's the head of the month going to be over so we can buy and sell our grain and things like that. So those are just some more verses that show, you know, these 4 seasonal heads of months are they're just like the weekly Sabbath day on how they should be observed.
Which is beautiful, because if you're thinking in terms of like the last Shabbat of the year and then the first 7th-day Shabbat of the next year, you actually have more than 6 work days. So that head of the season is going to give you your, you know, plenty of time to like enough work days and then a rest day in between. So you're not working over 6 days.
That's great. That's good to know and understand.
Yeah. And I think Yahuah did it like that for that exact reason too.
Can you say that again, please, Miranda?
Okay. Yeah, I can. So at the end of the year, right, and when we're transitioning into the new year, if we didn't have that head of the season as a Shabbat, there would be more than 6 work days. And then that would be breaking the, you know, work 6, rest 7th. And so what's great about having that head of the season is that we're not breaking the command of only, you know, working more than 6 days. So we have a rest in between the transition of the year. Did I explain that any better?
Yeah, because
Oh, yeah.
I have a friend
Discussed earlier, period. Discussed earlier, period. But not all have a propensity for that, period.
Yeah.
Discussed earlier.
Okay.
So some people had an issue with like the ones that don't,
but not all have a propensity for it, period.
Hey, Sister Sarah, can you mute your microphone? I think you're talking to someone else.
Yeah, I was. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I was so confused.
oh, me too.
That's why I usually keep it muted.
You're so cute.
Ashley, did I answer that question? Did you get
Yes.
that?
Yes, because I
Okay.
think I asked Jeremy this, how I would answer a friend. She is on Saturday Sabbaths, and what she does is she finds the equinox, and then the next day is her head of the year, but then it's like Shabbat from there is always on a Saturday on the Gregorian calendar. And I'm just not as well spoken as, you know, our dear, our beloved that shared today. So I just, I don't know how to explain it. And she asked me the question of how is it that every single, like, there's like not a continual 6 days, 7th-day rest, 6 days, 7-day rest. So when you had said that, like my little antennas went up and I was like, oh, that could be a way to explain that. Yeah. And I think, Jeremy, you were saying something along the lines, if I remember, that where does it say that they would be unbroken, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. It never says that it must be a continual, unbroken cycle of 7 year to year. It doesn't ever say that. It says, yeah, work 6 days, rest on the Sabbath. And that's exactly what we do, according to the true days counted by the luminaries.
Yeah, and it's great because even the transition, he's still not breaking that rule. You're still going to be working a certain amount of days and you will always have rest. It won't ever be over 6 days of work.
It's such a common trope that's gone around the past few years by those who do not want to switch from Saturday because that is too convenient. Some of my close friends that have dropped off, that's been their reason. They were all in until they learned that, hey, it's not the same Gregorian day every year, and they'd have to change their schedules. And It'd be so inconvenient. Yeah, that should never be our biggest concern for sure. And for some, it is difficult because of their work schedules. But yeah, always makes a way.
Yeah, and that as well, Jackie. Work 6, rest on the 7th is also broken during the festival weeks because we're resting on the high Shabbats too. So
Yeah.
it's just the general term of, yes, work 6 days, rest on the Sabbath day. And that's what we do. And people like to cling on to that Saturday Sabbath. Like, we don't see Yahuah saying, hey, I gave you this sign, this great sign of the sun. When you see it, pick the closest Wednesday to it and then go from there. No, we don't see that at all. We see, no, this happens. That's when we start it. Boom. Just like that. And not to mention, the modern Gregorian week that we know it today didn't exist until 321 AD. Before then, it was all a floating lunar quasi week. Like most of the world observed that, except for Mitzrayim at that time. Why? Because they actually had the sons of Zadok in Mitzrayim talking about the true calendar. It's the only time in history that Egypt had a solar calendar. It's really fascinating. And yeah, ones who say, oh, bees and beavers and all this, they rest on the Sabbath day. They're animals. And no, people have seen beavers and bees working on Sabbath days. I have myself. People can make that claim like, oh yeah, they rest on, Saturdays. No, they don't. Maybe some do. Maybe this group might do it. Another group will do it another day. Same thing with bees. I've seen a whole hive on the Shabbat day, going and gathering a bunch of stuff. I see it constantly.
So have I.
So it's a bunch of nonsense that people try to say, like, oh yeah, beavers rest on the Shabbat, which is Saturday. No, they don't. They don't. Yeah, ask if she's ever followed them around or if she's just parroting that off of, someone who's made that claim.
It was a 7-day Adventist. There because my family used to be 7-day Adventists, and so that's pretty much like what we were taught to in church.
Yeah, so so we see where that comes from. But yeah, it's I've never seen bees resting like on a Shabbat day. I always see them buzzing and flying around. Beavers, also not a true statement. And yeah, domesticated animals, they'll fall in sync with their owners, people who own them. So if you're resting on a Saturday, your animal probably will too. So, it's because people want to cling on to that. And, I was once there myself. But once you realize, you study into his word, and you see the history of where our modern week even came from, you see how, it's absolutely not true that it was held every single Saturday since the beginning of creation. Well, Saturday doesn't even exist in Scripture, for one. And another one that they use is, Saturday's called Shabbat Day in like 70 different languages. Yeah, well, what calendar do these other 70 different nations follow? Oh, yeah, the Gregorian.
Yep,
Yeah.
Gregorian.
So where'd they get that from? Oh, yeah, the Gregorian calendar. So, yeah, nothing to do with, in Spanish, for example, it's called Shabbato. Well, yeah, they're especially guilty because, yeah, Latin, that's directly from the Vatican. Anyways, yeah, they try to use all these different excuses like that, and it doesn't work, especially when you look at the actual history. And yeah, back then, Constantine pushed Saturn's Day on the Jews, and the Jews, they worshipped Saturn anyway, so they're like, all right, let's do it. We're good with that. That's where all of that comes from. It's the
Yeah,
amazing
that's
thing
the
is,
reason why I started celebrating it, started observing it on Saturday is because, the Constantine push for Sunday. I was like, oh, that makes sense why, he changed it, but that's not the reason.
I
yeah,
think that's
well,
pretty much where all of us started was Saturday when we learned that we're supposed to keep the Sabbath, and we'd always heard the Sabbath was on Saturday because that's what the Jews do. So that's pretty much where we started. Most of us, at least I did, until we learned more.
yeah,
Everybody's
exactly.
learning at different paces.
And yeah, that's that whole thing too, is they say, oh, look, you know, Constantine, he changed Saturday to Sunday. And the word there isn't even Saturday. It's actually called, the word there is Sabbato. The word for Saturday would be Dies Saturni. We don't find that in the original Latin version of it. We Sabbato, which means the Shabbat. So what he did was take the true Shabbat and claim it on a Sunday because of their sun worship. Sun is the sun god, things like that. So they take what is good, twist it, and use it for evil. And then they make all these claims like, oh yeah, look, he changed it from a Saturday to Sunday. It says so right here. Not if you take it back to the original language, it doesn't say that. So there's a whole lot that goes into it. It takes a lot of research, and yeah, like Sister Sarah said, we all started on a Saturday only Sabbath. It was only until about a year and a half ago or more that I was observing the Zadok calendar on the whole, line it up to a Wednesday closest to the equinox. I believe that too, because I didn't think like, oh, how can, we just have this day dividing anything? But when you look into it, you'll find it. Even Rachel Elior mentions this divider day as well that the sons of Zadok use. And if you know Rachel Elior, she's like all about the Dead Sea Scrolls. She actually got kicked out of the, Jewish community and things like that for revealing what she has about the Dead Sea Scrolls. And they try to discredit her, all kinds of stuff. But she mentions it in her book, The Three Temples, where she also mentions the Temple of Onias there in Egypt, built by Onias IV, who was the son of Zadok.
Yeah. I love
Which,
her lectures. Is she still teaching at the university, or was she booted out of that as well?
yeah, they booted her out of that as well because she wouldn't stop speaking the truth. So,
Well, that kind of is a good indication that she was so on the right track.
absolutely, I agree. Yeah, there's so much to the history and everything like that they say is wrong and things. But when you actually look into it, you see that it's actually right. So Rachel Elior here, that was Elior. Yeah, Elior. Like that. And on my YouTube channel, I have a Zadok Enoch calendar playlist. It's got all kinds of different videos from many different brothers and sisters. But one of Rachel Elior's presentations is in there. She's got several of them. We also have a PDF of a couple of her books, including that Three Temples one, where she talks about the divider day the sons of Zadok used. And it's amazing how people, even in the Zadok community, when we pointed that out, like, hey, look, even Rachel Elior mentions it, they're just like, no, no, just pulling any excuse out of the hat to be like, no, our, intercalating a week every 6 years is correct. Well, it's not. Yeah, Sumi and Brandon, they had to basically move out of the place they were at really quick. Some kind of situation happened there. She should be the one to explain it. Actually, I'm just going off memory of what she said. But her and Brandon had to basically get out from where they were, and they were living in campsites and things like that. So they are in the middle of moving and having no Wi-Fi, not being able to join and things.
Oh, that would make life so difficult for them. Those types of transitions are so stressful.
Yeah, and she's been having struggles with, her daughter and her son. Yeah, so they can definitely use some prayer.
Oh, okay. Well, we can collectively lift them up and lift them up in prayer.
Absolutely. Let's see. I was gonna
Talking about prayer, I could use a collective prayer. The transmission went out of my vehicle, and it's an SUV, and it's going to cost a lot of money. So I haven't been able to do it lately. So, but I'm working on stuff. So if y'all could say a prayer for me and my vehicle, which I love because it's one of the old and sturdy ones.
Absolutely.
I'd really like to get that fixed so I can be back on the road again and hit, there's so many fellowships that I have missed because of that. I can only ride my bike so far.
Sarah.
Yeah.
So in my van, they thought that my transmission was also going out. And instead what this guy did was he did a tranny flush. And what it did was it kind of like rebooted my car. And it turns out it wasn't the transmission. It just needed a good like flush of all like, I guess, the fluids that can get like corroded. And it completely reset my car. I don't know what your situation is like, but maybe ask whoever you took your car to.
Okay. Several mechanics told me that, and when I was driving home at night one night from a fellowship out in the country, that's when it gave out, and it definitely sounded like
the transmission.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And I had been wondering for several months because every now and then I would get a slight indication that something wasn't quite right, and then when it decided to go, it went. But I will check on that, and I'm praying over my vehicle, and heck, I've always prayed for mechanic angels. I mean, it's amazing how long my vehicle's lasted, and my appliances and everything I have way outlast what most people have, and I think it's because of supernatural intervention. So, but I will definitely check on that. I'm not super stressed over it. I'm just a bit frustrated because, on Saturday when I want to go to a fellowship or Friday night or something, they're usually 45 minutes to an hour away, and I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, can't really do that, but I have friends that are close by that, are awesome with calling me up and saying, hey, you need to go to the store, you need to do this and that. And I work out of my home, which is a real blessing. But yeah, it needs to be fixed. And how old is your vehicle?
So I have a Honda Odyssey, which is a minivan, and it's a 2015. But we go to the beach every year with his family from New York. So we used to go to New Jersey. Now we go to North Carolina. So we put quite a bit of miles on it. It just got to 128,000. And so, the alternator went out a few months ago. We had to get that changed. And then, oh my gosh, I was having problems again. And it turned out that it just needed like a system reboot and a transmission flush. So,
well,
yeah.
I'll definitely inquire about that. Thanks for that tip. My vehicle is quite a bit older than yours, and even though my dad, when he was alive, kept trying to get me to get a newer one. I just loved it. It's an old SUV that's super sturdy and built well. It was in the era where vehicles were still built well, and mechanics were shocked that it was still on the same transmission. And
So,
they said,
okay.
most transmissions now on newer cars go out by 130 to 150,000 miles. Mine was on 250.
Okay.
And normally I would just ditch the vehicle, but they said it's so sturdy and built so well and has so little rust on it. And what we're hearing about newer vehicles with the remote control on them, you know, mechanics are starting to urge people to keep your older vehicles. And they're
Yes.
looking for vehicles that they can, you know, revamp and replace a few things so they can have an older vehicle where they cannot be remotely controlled. So that's one of my considerations. So,
Yeah, I was just
anyways,
going to
I
mention
don't know
that
about
too.
you. I mean,
You know, there,
Jeremy, you're a mechanic. You've seen that.
yeah, I was just going to recommend the same, you know, a transmission flush, a filter. But I mean, that might do the trick, I'm pretty sure. But because it has so many miles, it might need a bit more than that. So
Yeah.
I will definitely keep you in prayer, sister, for you and your vehicle. And like you said, all these newer vehicles, you know, especially ones built in the most recent years, you know, they have all this tracking and tracing, these large screens you got to touch and tap. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
now they're making it a mandate to where, you know, based on an algorithm, all these cameras and sensors, they're going to detect when you're sober enough to drive or not, even
Oh
if
my
you're
God.
sober 100% of the time. Like,
Or if
you
you've
start,
paid your taxes, they
yeah,
can shut your
yep,
car off. If you
yep,
Well,
haven't made payments.
Or if you
6
want the
months ago,
discount, if you want the
6 months
discount for your car insurance, you have to put this app on
six
that.
months ago, I got a new insurance, and they enticed me with, you know, that tracking. I think it's called, oh, it's with Progressive Insurance. You know, it just gives you a discount. Well, come to find out, the discount was only on the initial payment, and it's interesting how it's still running even when I haven't been driving my vehicle for the past month. And it gave me a 1 star out of 5, and I haven't even been driving my vehicle. And so I said, take that demonic system off my insurance. And they said, well, you know, it helps us track you so that we can help you. It's like, no, thanks. I said, I don't need your tracking system. And
You can track me on my phone, see where my cell phone's pinging from.
yeah, it was just kind of, because every time I would ride with somebody else, it was tracking me as if I was a driver, giving me a lower, you know, like if I was, they said, well, you were on your phone all the time. I says, yeah, as a passenger, I'm allowed to do that. But the system was penalizing me as if I was the driver. So out of 5 stars, it was consistently giving me 1 star because I was on my phone 50% of the trip, you know, and I wasn't even the driver.
yeah,
So,
see, that's not right either. Yeah. And
so
that's what they do.
normally,
Yeah, the tracking.
you know,
And they're
normally I
like,
pass up those kind of systems, but I wanted the discount. But since the discount is only the first initial payment, forget it. The gal who I was talking to at the insurance company, she says, yeah, I had the same experience. She says, I canceled mine after, you know, when I went to pay the second payment on insurance. And she admitted she didn't want it either. Yeah, we live in definitely a surveillance system. Our own phones are tracking us, our TVs, everything. I just avoid what you can with smart technology. Like, so many appliances now have smart technology. And when I bought my new appliances a few years ago, I really had to search to find some that were still on an analog system. And I'm getting rid of my smart meter. It's been a struggle, but ever since I've had the smart meter, which I fought until they shut my power off, it's given me awful headaches. And so my doctor is helping me with that, with medical reasons to get rid of the smart meter. So and my TV is rarely used, so I cover it up and turn the switch plate off when I'm not using it, because they say they can still see you and hear you. And so just do what you can, and
Yeah.
wouldn't it be nice if they brought back lead-based paint?
Yeah, right. It actually blocked all that stuff.
Oh my
Right.
goodness, yes.
Since all of us have gotten out of the habit of eating paint chips because we've grown up, we no longer eat paint chips. Oh, what an excuse.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what they do. They take it, they say, oh, it's so poisonous and bad for you. Well, no, they got rid of it because it blocks all these frequencies and things that they want to attack
I
us with.
know. Can you imagine? And little did we know, but yeah, homeowners insurance wouldn't even insure homes unless you strip the paint and repainted things. I mean, they really put people over a barrel.
But do you guys even think that it'll get to all of that? I mean, Yahusha, one of the biggest things is like, he's like, you can't even discern the times. And it really, to me, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I've been in labor 6 times, and I'm telling you, you'll know when you're in labor, and then you know when you're in transition, and you know when it's like, it's time to push. And it just feels, it doesn't even feel like last days or minutes or like hours. It feels like minutes at this point. To me, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we definitely are in that season of deception. And hopefully it's coming to a close soon. Of course, there's going to be some big cataclysms, we got to get through it. But once we accept that, hey, we'll probably all die before we get to the eternal kingdom, because Scripture does say no flesh and blood can enter the kingdom. So once I came to that realization, I'm like, oh, okay, well, no big deal if we die. We're all going to die anyways, physically, so that we can actually spiritually in our spirit and souls become alive.
But isn't there that scripture that says, like, in the twinkling of an eye, we all, we'll be changed. I don't know. Maybe that's it. In game.
I always wondered when that applied to. Was that something in the past, or is it something in the future?
So I'm not sure. And
First and
most
second
people,
harvest.
yeah, so most people do like kind of think that is what that means, that some people won't taste death. But there's also another scripture that says it's appointed for every man to die once. Because, so when you think about that, like even Yahusha himself, he died and rose again, right? Because he was the example. So it is appointed for every man to die once.
Yep. And no flesh and blood is going to enter the kingdom. I just was reading that scripture the other day. I forget. It eludes me where it is, but it was pretty clear. For years I hung on to, we might not die. No, we're going to die. But if you think about it, getting rid of these physical avatars, these bodysuits, won't be all that bad. I mean, really? Why are we hanging on to it so tightly? They're miserable.
Yeah, and my thing is just more not more of like dying. It's more of like, I just don't think it'll even get to that point where they're talking about, oh, this is going to be what's happened in their smart cities. It just feels like it's just not going to even get there. But I know that that's been being said for years upon years upon years as well. But, who knows? I think it's really big when Yahusha says, like, you have to look at like the seasons and the trees and the fruit and the times. And now we're being taught to like look up look up for what our redemption draws nigh, right? And to me, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Jeremy, you would know more. Natalie would know more because they know Hebrew more than I. But doesn't Revelation mean Hazun? It's like the fog, the veil, the haze. It's being lifted, almost like, when you get married, you have to like lift the veil, right? And then you're married. than your, husband and wife. And so it's like all these things are being lifted, about pedophilia and all that other stuff. So I don't know. Just my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we understand better now why the earth has to be cleansed. I mean, what they've done in defiling the earth. Look at the temple, the beautiful temple that Solomon built. That had to be destroyed. Why? Because it was so defiled. It was so defiled. And the same with this earth. They've done everything they could to pollute it, plus all the tunnels underground and underground bases, and it's all going to be cleansed. And no
Yeah,
wonder
and
it's cleansed with fire.
and he's lifting that veil too, to wake the people up that are a little bit harder to, like if you think about sleepers, like my husband, I could have a trumpet going and he would still be sleeping. And it takes something drastic to wake him up sometimes. And me, I'm a very light sleeper. So like, you've got those that wake up immediately, and then you've got those that are tougher to wake up. But like once they see more and more, and it's undeniable at that point, that's where you have the last bit of people coming in. And those are the ones that he treasures the most too. Because they out of all the muck, they were like, they chose to follow him.
The ones who don't see but believe. That's us. We don't have the pillar of fire and the cloud and things like that. But we still believe because we are the witness. Our own personal testimonies are the witness to him. And, about that whole, it's appointed every man to die. And that's very true because, yes, Enoch was taken up to be with Yahuah, but then he comes back down. So does Elijah. They come back down to be killed because they didn't die. So, very interesting stuff. And I believe that already happened because, believing that we are post-millennial reign, meaning after it. So the two witnesses would have already came. But back to the car thing as well, it's funny because a couple of videos were recommended on my YouTube, and it was talking about this whole new, here in the US, they're trying to mandate this program to cars where, it's going to detect if you're sober or not and decide to shut off. And just like Miranda was mentioning as well, if you forget to, pay your taxes or some kind of fine in court or whatever, they can just shut it off, done for. And not to mention everything is just, AI controlled in vehicles now. It's cars have to connect to Wi-Fi to, what is it, update and things now. Like, it's a vehicle. You shouldn't have to do that. They're trying to charge for, programs, driving privileges and things like that, like a monthly payment just to keep your car online. And it's really ridiculous. So older cars, I'd say even pre-2010 would be your best option. But they're really easy to work on. Especially like Toyotas and Hondas and things like that. They're actually extremely reliable. I've seen Toyotas have over like 300,000 miles and still going. Older ones, of course. All the newer ones, because of all this technology, computers and all this stuff, they're junk. And it's just part of the whole tracking and tracing and control you. You'll own nothing and be happy type stuff. Because, now without a monthly subscription, you can't drive your car. And then on top of it, all the mandatory things they try to make you pay for vehicles, it just adding up. And then we become more slaves to the Babylonian system. Yeah, the more bells and whistles, the more headaches. Really, it is. You know, they got these like 30-inch monitors now in vehicles and things, and like everything is controlled from it. So no, you don't have knobs or anything. You want to change the temperature on your AC? Nope, can't do that. You got to take your eyes off the road, scroll through this huge monitor on your thing just to find the climate controls. You know, it's wild.
My
They're trying
dad,
to
who
make
was
it.
my
Oh,
dad, who
go
was
ahead,
an
go ahead.
engineer, my dad, who was an engineer for AC spark plugs and then for General Motors, back in the day, he said that eventually cars were going to be all computerized. And he said, not only will they be a lot more expensive to fix, because back in his day, vehicles were so simple, he usually fixed everything. But he said the more computerized, he said it'll take it out of the hands of simple people or simple mechanics, and the repairs will be more expensive, he says, but they'll be much more controllable. And he was saying this back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s.
That's
And
they had it in plants and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, he was right.
Yeah, because even for oil changes and stuff like that on these newer vehicles, they have this dealer lockout thing where you can't even like do an oil change without having to take it to the dealer because there's some kind of, computer lock code for everything. And it will just stop running if you can't reset your oil code because, it's for your safety, you don't want to drive too long on the same oil. So we're just going to shut it off for you unless you bring it to the dealership. It's wild. So with technology, what they've done is they've taken away these super reliable vehicles that used to exist. And part of them doing that was that whole you know, push, pull, tug, or tow your car in, and we'll give you like 10 grand or whatever for your trade in. That was all part of this get rid of all the older vehicles so they can start establishing this new system where you can no longer just work on your own vehicle anymore. You have to take it to the dealership. Like, you can't even take it to just a shop of your choosing. You would have to take it to the dealership because they would be the only ones with access to these codes and things. So it's really wild. And it's all part of that, consumerism. Like, build it long enough to last through the warranty, and then after that, it's all their problem. Then they can just trade it in and buy another one. Go through the
Which,
same
see,
process.
and that makes me so mad, and that proves that they are such gaslighters because they say that we're killing, we're killing by putting all these, all the pollutions and everything, and yet, you know, why do they sell everything in plastic packages? Why don't they encourage people to get jars and fill them up? Why do they make crappy appliances so that they have to be replaced every 6 years? Crappy cars where you have to buy a different car and you're taking your old one to the, chop shop. Like, they make the problem and then blame it on us and say that we're the ones that, you know, are causing the world to be polluted.
Yeah, just like big oil controlled all the, other methods of travel and fuel and things like that. So they control it all, make every engine run off of, no longer just natural things, because actually the original cars can run off of like olive oil and things like that. No, they made it have to run on petrol, gasoline. Then they blame us, like, oh, you guys, and you're buying your gasoline vehicles, that we mandated, of course, but it's your guys' fault. They try to blame it on us and say, oh, now we need to do this electric stuff. But yeah, just like you said, all this plastic, guess what? It's a byproduct of petrol, literally. So not only that, it's all poison to us. They're making even vehicle parts out of plastic now. It's all plastic. I've seen a couple videos, people bought brand new 2026, Cadillac, you know, 10,000 miles down the road, it's throwing a rod because it's all made of plastic. And and then not only that, you know, the dealership don't want to take accountability for that, even though it's their fault. So they try to put that on the buyer and say, oh, you know, this isn't covered under warranty. You know, you were too rough with it. And it's like, no, it's your fault for making plastic parts that go on a high-speed engine. And then you add heat to that. Yeah, that's a failure that is imminent. And people just buy these things up. It's wild. And that's why I say the older vehicle, the better, to be honest. Really, with anything, older washing machines, dryers, all that, the older the better. Because, yeah, you know, they got refrigerators and microwaves and, you know, toaster ovens that connect to Wi-Fi. And, like, like you need Wi-Fi connection to all that. It's just, you know, control, tracking and tracing. They want a screen in every room of your house, because with that screen is attached kind of camera or optical device, so they can get a reading and a bearing on everybody's house. They can even use Wi-Fi to, you know, bounce it off of your signal or bounce it off your body, kind of like radar, and detect exactly where you are in your own house. Yeah, dirty electricity, all of that. So yeah, it's all part of the B system. You know, the whole 15-minute city things, you know, time's moving short. You know, they're already doing this whole clown show, WW3 stuff. You know, and who's the center of all that? Oh, the synagogue of Hasatan themselves. So, yeah, I believe they already have 6G, 7G. You know, all these things are being used.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I think Jermaine earlier in the chat said that she was ready whenever we are.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you for reminding me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and real quick, yeah, Lisa, that is all staged to be a distraction. That's exactly what that is. But yeah, Sister Jermaine, whenever you are ready, if you are ready, we'd love to hear your reading. We've missed them.
Hey, yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, stuff's been going on. Miranda, did you see the pictures I sent? You didn't react as if to say that you'd seen it. The jubilees with the year dates.
Oh, I was making dinner. I did not see those. I will scroll back up and look.
Yeah, all good. So it's been a while. So I think I've got the right ones ready to read, but if you've heard this before, let me know. I'm getting a bit confused now because, yeah, it's been a little while. I'm going to be reading from Psalm 32 and 33 from the Lexham English Septuagint, which means you guys would be reading from 33 and 34. Rejoice exceedingly, O righteous ones, in Yahuah. Praise is fitting for the upright ones. Give thanks to Yahuah with lyre. With 10-stringed harps, sing him. With 10-stringed harp, sing to him. Sing to him a new song. Sing well with a loud voice. For the word of Yahuah is righteous, and all his works are in faithfulness. He loves mercy and justice. The earth is full of the mercy of Yahuah, and by the word of Yahuah the heavens were made firm, and by the spirit of his mouth all their power. He gathers the waters of the sea as a bag. He sets the deep in treasures. Let all the earth fear Yahuah, and from him let all the ones who are dwelling upon the inhabited world be shaken. For he spoke, and it became. He commanded, and it was created. Yahuah scatters the counsels of the nations. and he sets aside the deliberations of the people and rejects the counsels of the rulers. But the counsel of Yahuah remains for eternity, the deliberations of his heart from generation to generation. Blessed is the nations whose Aliyam is Yahuah, his people whom he chose for an inheritance for himself. From the heavens, Yahuah looked down. He saw all the sons of humans. From his prepared dwelling place, he looked down upon all the ones who are inhabiting the earth, the one who alone formed their hearts, the one who has understanding of all their works. A king is not saved because of much power, and the mighty one will not be saved in the magnitude of his strength. The horse is false for salvation, and in the magnitude of its power he will not be saved. Look, the eyes of Yahuah are upon the ones who fear him, the ones who place their hope upon his mercy, to rescue their souls from death, and to continually sustain them in famine. Our soul waits upon Yahuah, because he is our helper and protector, because our heart will be cheerful in him, and we put our hope in his holy name. May your mercy, O Yahuah, be upon us, even as we put our hope in you. Can everyone hear my cat purring too loud?
Oh, no, I didn't hear that.
Anyway, she's really close. And yeah, it was so loud, I'm thinking, oh, can they hear me? Okay, 33, you're 34. Of David, when he changed his face before Abimelech, and he released him, and he departed. I will bless Yahuah in every occasion, through every circumstance. The praise of him will be in my mouth. My soul will be commended in Yahuah. Let the humble hear, and let them be cheerful. Magnify Yahuah with me, and lift up high his name together. I sought out Yahuah, and he heard me, and he rescued me from all of my sojourning. Come to him, and you will be enlightened, and your faces will never be disgraced. This poor person cried out, and Yahuah heard him, and he saved him from all of his afflictions. The angel of Yahuah will encamp in a circle around the ones who fear him, and he will rescue them. That is so nice. Taste and see that Yahuah is good. Blessed is the man who hopes in him. Fear Yahuah, all you holy ones of him, because there is no deficiency for the ones who are fearing him. The rich began to beg and become hungry. Sorry, I read that wrong. The rich begin to beg and became hungry, but the ones seeking out Yahuah will not be lacking any good thing. Come, you children, hear me. I will teach you the fear of Yahuah. What person is there who wants life and loves to see good days? Stop your tongue from evil, and your lips will not speak guile. Turn from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of Yahuah are upon the righteous, and his ears listen to their entreaty. But the face of Yahuah is against those doing evil things, to destroy utterly the memory of them from the earth. The righteous ones cried aloud, and Yahuah heard them, and he rescued them from all their afflictions. Yahuah is near to the ones who have been broken with respect to their heart, and he will save the low in spirit. Ruach. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but he will rescue them from all of them. Yahuah guards all their bones. Not one of them will be crushed. Evil is the death of sinners, and the ones who hate the righteous will offend. Yahuah will redeem the souls of his servants, and all those who hope in him shall go not astray. That's really uplifting.
Praise Yahuah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's really good. So, Sirach, I thought I'd read 5 and 6 because 5 is pretty small. But does anyone recall, have I done 5 and 6 before? I don't suppose anyone would remember.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, but it wouldn't hurt to hear it again, even if you did.
All right, let's go. 5 and 6, Wisdom of Sirach. Do not hold on to your wealth, and do not say, there is enough for me. Do not follow your soul and your strength to walk in the desires of your heart. And do not say, who shall control me? For Yahuah, when punishing, will punish you. Do not say, I have sinned, and has anything happened to me? For Yahuah is patient. Do not be fearless about atonement, and add to sin upon sin. And do not say, his compassion is great. He will make atonement for the multitude of my sins. For mercy and anger are from him, and his wrath will rest on sinners. Do not wait to turn to the Lord, Yahuah, and do not delay day from day, for anger of Yahuah will come out suddenly, and you will be utterly destroyed at the time of vengeance. Do not hold on to unrighteous possessions, for you will benefit nothing in the day of distress. Do not winnow in every wind, and do not walk on every path. Such is the double-tongued sinner. Be strong in your understanding, and let your word be consistent. Be quick in your hearing, and speak and answer with patience. If you have understanding, answer your neighbor, but if not, let your hand be over your mouth. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just thought, there's so many people that get asked a question and they may not have full knowledge of what they're talking about, but they'll just sort of go, yeah, this, and that, but not really know the truth on the matter. And sometimes I think we've just got to stop and go, actually, I don't really know the truth on that, so I really can't comment.
I agree.
Yeah, so I'll just say that one again. If you have understanding, answer your neighbor, but if not, let your hand be over your mouth. Okay, 13. In speaking, there is glory and dishonor. In speaking, there is glory and dishonor, and the tongue of a person is his downfall. Do not be called a whisperer, and do not lie in wait with your tongue, for there is shame upon the thief, and wicked condemnation upon the double-tongued. Do not be ignorant in things great or in things small, and do not be an enemy instead of a friend. So that was 5, and I'll just read 6. For a wicked name is a shame, and you will inherit reproach. Such is the double-tongued sinner. Do not lift up yourself in the counsel of your soul, lest your soul be torn to pieces like a bull. You will devour your leaves, and you will destroy your fruit, and leave yourself as dry wood. A wicked soul will destroy the one who acquires it, and it will make him an object of malicious joy to his enemies. A sweet throat will multiply its friends, and an eloquent tongue will increase courteous greetings. May those who are at peace with you be many, but your counselors be 1 in 1,000. If you get a friend, get him by testing, and do not trust him quickly. For there is a kind of friend who is so in his time, but will not remain on the day of your tribulation. And there is a kind of friend who shifts to an enemy and will uncover strife to your reproach. And there is a kind of friend who is a table partner, but who does not remain on the day of your tribulation. And in your good times he will be like you, and he will speak boldly over your household servants. If you are humbled, he will be against you, and hide himself from your face. Be separate from your enemies, and be on guard from your friends. A faithful friend is a strong shelter, and the one who finds him has found a treasure. A faithful friend cannot be bartered for, and there is no scale for his excellence. A faithful friend is a medicine of life, and those who fear Yahuah will find him. The one who fears Yahuah will direct his friendship, for as he is, so also is his neighbor. Child, choose discipline from your youth, and you will find wisdom until your old age. Like the one who plows and the one who sows, draw near to her and wait for her good fruit. For in her work you will toil little, and soon you will eat of her produce. She is most quick to the uneducated, and the fool will not remain with her. She will be like a mighty stone of trial upon him, and he will not hesitate to cast her away. For wisdom is according to her name, and she is not evident to many. Listen, child, and accept my maxim, and do not reject my counsel, and put your feet into her fetters, and your neck into her collar. Bow your shoulder down and bear her, and do not be irritated by her chains. Draw near to her with all your soul, and keep her ways with all your power. Search out and seek her, and she will become known to you. And when possession takes place, do not let her go, for you will at last find her rest, and it will be turned into joy for you, and her fetters will be a mighty protection for you, and her branches a garment of glory. For there is a golden ornament upon her, and her chains are purple thread. You will put her on as a garment of glory, and you will place a crown of joy upon yourself. If you want, child, you will be disciplined, and if you give your soul, you will be clever. If you love to listen, you will receive, and if you incline your ear, you will be wise. Stand in the multitude of the elders, and cling to him who is wise. Desire to listen to every discourse of God, Aliyam, and do not let proverbs of understanding escape you. If you see a wise man, visit him early, and let your foot wear out the threshold of his door. Ponder on the ordinances of Yahuah, and meditate on his commandments at all times. He will establish your heart, and the desire of your wisdom will be given to you. That was a bit long.
No, it's great. And I like that, if you find a wise man, let your foot wear out the threshold on his door. That's how it should be. Honestly.
Yes.
Love it.
A lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, lots of good stuff. Definitely have missed your reading, sister. They're much needed.
It's been a while. I hope I didn't put everyone to sleep, though.
No, of course not. Yeah, a great reading. Very important point. Especially about, if you don't know the answer, just keep your mouth shut. Because you're right. There's too many out there. They don't know the answer, but they're trying to give an answer. And we shouldn't be like that. I think that's what causes a lot of confusion and things.
It's a simple thing. It's a simple command. And it does say that the tongue is the rudder and it can get people into trouble. One thing I've thought of every now and then is, you read these scriptures and everything is direct and to the point. It doesn't waffle on like we tend to do. In our modern language, we've just got so many words, but back in the day, they didn't have many words. It was very, it did sound confusing. It was eloquent. And we're just, I don't know, we've got such a different language. Say too much.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, they had words that were used in context as well, like the same word, but depending on its context, to be used in a different way. Whereas, in our language, we have like a word for everything. I mean, we have those words like that as well, but, there's even other words to describe these words, and it's this huge, confusing language. And there's just a lot of people that use it to, just toss a bunch of word salad out there is what it is.
And we will be judged by our words and our deeds. So we've really got to guard that opening in our head, that big opening with that rudder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, etymological sorcery. That's exactly what it is. But yeah, no, we really appreciate that reading. Very important and very important points to reflect on. Scriptures actually describes men of very few words, and the only words that they used were those of Yahuah. Like Moshe, for example, he even told Yahuah, like, hey, I can't speak very well. You sure you want me to do this? And he's like, yeah, I will give you the words to use. And he also helped Al-Haron to speak for him as well. So it's not the men who have the most words that are important in what we read through scriptures, but it's the men of few words, the ones with words from Yahuah. What do I think about? Oh, there it is. She's clothed with dignity. She laughs without fear of the future. And when she speaks, her words are wise. And if she gives instruction, with kindness. Proverbs 31, 25, and 26. Yeah, that is speaking of, well, Proverbs 31 woman.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't the one that I meant to send, although it is a good graphic. Come on. I just sent the one I meant to send, and it's about praying. I wanted to ask you all this earlier, what you thought about this. Do you see that new graphic I just put up?
Yeah, with the praying hands, I agree.
What
Absolutely
do you-
with that. Because that's what we don't see them, putting the modern praying hands together and things like that. What we do see is what's above there, lifting up your arms, kneeling with your arms lifted, or being prostrate, things like that.
Yeah.
The bottom one that's a modern, churchianity invention.
Yeah. I just saw that a few months ago, and I thought, that makes sense. So when I'm praying, I have changed it, but, I really didn't have a lot to go on. So I wanted to ask all you biblical scholars on here.
Yeah. It's no, that's exactly. We have to pray with our hands lifted up to Yahuwah, things like that. So crossing the hands, yeah. Not a good thing to do. And Shabbat Shalom, Sister Ashley. Glad you can make it. Yeah, we've had quite the amazing fellowship today, actually. Pretty good for the last Shabbat fellowship of the year. And then we're going into the head of the months, tracking the equinox and all that. Super excited to meet everybody up there in Missouri. It's going to be great. And then we will have our Passover fellowship as well, our unleavened bread fellowship. And I'm going to be going over my write-up about the death, burial, and resurrection of Messiah as well, because it's very important to study out, I believe, especially since it pertains to Pesach and unleavened bread, and first fruits as well. Yeah, all praise to the Most High Yahuah. But anyways,
Jeremy,
yeah,
are we, I mean, I'm sure there are people that will be, but like, just kind of like letting everybody know the process of like what we are observing when we're at Marissa's, and everyone should post what they're tracking to wherever they are, wherever everybody else is.
yeah, exactly. So we will be doing, we will be tracking the equinox, and I'm pretty sure Marissa and Bobby have the board all set up. I have to double check, but yeah, and I highly encourage everybody to also track it from where they are as well. So that way we can get several witnesses and also check out the data as well, because it's very intriguing. But yeah, we're definitely going to be doing some live streams during that. I don't know if we'll be able to do it the whole day from sunup to sundown, but we're going to cover a good chunk of that. Maybe do it like midday, something like that. And then we'll have our head of the year Noah Day fellowship as well, the day after that, after we track the equinox. Oh, man, they got clones headed towards you. You know, of course they would. Oh, man, snowing there in Missouri?
Yeah, I was about to ask you that, Tabitha. It's funny. Earlier it was raining, and then we had some hail, and now it's snowing, and I just think of that part in Enoch when it talks about like all the hail and the hoarfrost goes, to the north and everything, and I just think of like the end of the year and the transitioning. I think it's funny that
Yes.
we have like all the weather here in Missouri all in one day.
I've been wearing shorts all day because it's been so warm, but I'm heading out to cover up just a few things that I've planted already, because tonight, tomorrow, it's dropping down into freezing, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. It's like getting a whiplash.
Yes, it's supposed to be like 16 low tonight, and
Oh,
then like either that or 15, and then 16 tomorrow night.
oh, I'm outside of Indianapolis, and it's gonna get pretty cold. But it's been
That's
fun
so
wearing
cool.
shorts all day. It's been real nice in the
That's
70s.
funny. I've been in shorts all day too.
And then tonight and tomorrow I'll be in like snow pants.
Snow pants and boots.
Yep.
Winter's like last call
Yeah, right.
before spring.
Literally,
Here,
Friday and Saturday are set for the high to be in the mid 70s, if not high 70s.
Yeah, I know. And I hope we have clear skies too.
yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna be there.
I'll be praying for that one.
right?
Yeah, it'll
No,
be a little bit more different weather than what you're used to, Jeremy.
definitely. It's been in the 90s here already this week.
Oh,
So,
Oh
yeah.
no. Please bring long pants and closed-toed shoes.
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
definitely doing that.
And maybe expect some sniffles because I don't know if you'll be used to all the allergens here in Missouri.
Yeah, probably
Yeah,
not.
I'll have some pine needle ready for you when you get here.
Awesome. I'm down for that. I'm excited though. Hopefully it's not 16 degrees below because yeah, I'm definitely not used to that.
Yeah, no, not that.
The 70s I can handle, but negative 16, I don't know. And yeah, so videos on how to set up how to track the equinox. I shared a couple in the calendar tab. I can try to find a couple more. I know Remnant of the Light, Aaron Ryan has a video on how to set it up and stuff as well. The armillary is not very easy. You have to be like very accurate.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that Erin Ryan has hers set to how she wants to have her set and what she wants to
Yeah,
see.
exactly. Yeah,
Does she put hers toward the north or does she do the east?
Well,
I
she points
think,
it towards the north, but you can set it up for when you think the equinox is coming in, and then the next time it'll come in on that date.
Oh.
yeah, correct.
I'm just saying I've looked and poured over enough of her data and enough of her pictures, and I've talked personally one-on-one with, what's his name that does the Faith Child. Actually, I don't know if I know his actual name, but we've had discussion, and I've seen on his videos he calls them out for having different dates than everybody else in the United States. So, yeah.
Yeah. And she does something with the ruler to make it appear straight on her, tracking board as well.
Yep.
Does she have a fish eye lens?
No, it's like when she takes the ruler, like she gets amazing data points, but when she takes the ruler, she like puts it on a different spot of the dot to make it look like it's not curved. So she'll put it like under the dot on the far side and then above the dot on the other side to make her line look straight.
And that's Aaron Ryan, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, the remnant of light.
Yeah. And, we agree on a lot of things, but, manipulating data like that, it's pretty underhanded, to be honest, especially if we're claiming to follow truth and seek truth.
Yeah, and I can understand if it was like 1 year, but it was like 3 years, I think I went over where Faith Child was like, and this one is just kind of out of the ordinary. And he's like, I'm gonna check with Remnant of Light and get back to everyone on this. And then in the next video, he'd be like, well, it's just not matching up. So, I mean, he wasn't rude about it or anything, but when I personally private messaged him, he's like, yeah, there's something going on here.
Yeah. So,
Anyway, I'll see if I can find the data, but just all that to say, we have an armillary set up, and our plan is to actually try to get it calibrated at the new year. But last year, we were so unsure if it was the 19th or 20th. We didn't know when to calibrate it. we have tried with just our eyes sighting it to Polaris. We have tried with an actual scope from my husband's GUN. I don't know if that'll get us censors on YouTube, but but yeah, we've tried to line it up, and it's like almost there, but not quite. So in my opinion, the board is way more predictable.
Yeah, definitely easier as well, for sure.
Have you got a board video that I could check out?
I posted them in
Yeah, the board it's more
yeah.
predictable. It's a lot easier, and
Mhm.
make sure you have it lined up each day that you're tracking it in the same position. Basically, don't move it. That's your best bet.
I can tag you, Lachlan, in the ones that I did in the calendar one. And Jeremy has, I think, a couple right before that.
Yeah, awesome. That'd be cool. Thank you.
I'm definitely not like some kind of expert or anything. It's just fascinating to us. We've been doing it for, I think this is our 4th year, or maybe 5th.
Awesome.
It's really fascinating and awesome. Really, the board method is probably your best bet because, it's the most accurate and the most easy versus a armillary. It's going to take a lot more dialing in for that. But yeah, Brother Lachlan, been praying for you and your whole situation going on there. Definitely a tough situation.
Thanks, Jeremy. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's prayers. It went really well, so I'm just recovering now, and it feels so much better already to have the medal out.
Yeah, no doubt. You don't have a bunch of metal in your body. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
you're not
such a
a
relief. I was like under so much tension with the screws and the rods, just constantly. Yeah, affects you mentally being in pain every day.
Yeah, it really does. Pain is not supposed to be like that every single day constantly, so definitely has an effect. And especially when it involves screws and things like that, like it just doesn't go with the body. You're gonna think of, oh, let me screw
No,
my leg.
I feel like I can
So,
actually detox and heal now and get better. It's so good.
yeah, absolutely. Praise Yahuah.
Hallelujah.
But yeah, I'll try to get some more of those videos found about how to track the equinox properly. I'll send some armillary videos as well. Yeah, much more difficult to track that way. Even just using sticks and rocks is pretty simple too. But it's coming up. We're gonna have videos of it. And oh, there's there's a Chewy. Looks like a Chewy. But yeah, no, I'm excited to meet everybody who's gonna be there. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna be live streaming it here. We'll have lots of pictures and videos as well. Yeah, it is that grumpy cat face, huh? But yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, and since this is our last Shabbat of the year, we will actually be streaming again. Let's see, Friday and then Saturday for the head of the year. Friday for tracking the equinox, and then Saturday for the head of the months, head of the year, the ordained Noah day. And then after that, we will have, our Shabbat fellowship on Tuesday. And then our midweek midrash will move to Saturdays. And I'll try to always have something on at least one of the weekend days for those who are unable to change their work schedule yet. Just so, everybody always has a chance to join in. And yet, thank you for being here, Sister Jennifer. Thank you for being Mishpahat, truly. Such a blessing, really is. And yeah, I thank Yahuah for this fellowship that we have here. And, we've all helped each other so very much, so get through so many things. And we've become family here, truly. But yeah, I
Yeah, look at all
think,
the amazing friendships that have been formed.
yeah, that speaks in itself, truly. If it wasn't for this fellowship, I wouldn't have met, a lot of you. We've seen each other on Facebook probably before this, some of you, but, we wouldn't have become, family like we are now. And, we've had our ups and downs, but that's what happens. We
Hey,
work.
that's what makes friendships stronger.
Yeah, it does.
Being able to get through the muck together and no friendship is perfect, but man, when you can tough things out, even when you don't agree sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Got to be refined. Exactly, Natalie. Yep, and friendships that have brought others into this group as well. What do we have, 235 now? Or 232, I guess. I know we had a couple people leave because, that for one reason or another, they don't agree with the calendar or they don't agree with other points of view, but it's fine. It's whatever. I'd rather have a small personal fellowship than a big giant one, you know?
Yep, I'd rather have a few good friends than 100 fake ones.
Absolutely. Anyways, no, I love it. Thank you all for joining. And if nobody else has any other questions or anything else they'd like to add or say, we will end it here for this evening. Yeah,
Well, thank you, Jeremy.
no problem. Thank you. And thank you for your presentation about the little season and the future one that's going to be coming sometime.
Is that a hint, hint, wink, wink?
Yeah, exactly. I'm
I
excited
know, I
for it.
know. The transition, like I said, from the normal Monday through Friday job has really kind of put a hindering on getting part 2 together, so I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. It's all good. But yeah, I would take a village over a city any day. Exactly, Tabitha. I agree. I agree. It was definitely an excellent presentation by Sister Marissa. She can just explain all those aspects much better than I. Like I said before, I know the Dead Sea Scrolls, the scriptures, and the history. The luminaries and such, not so much. Except for the equinox, I know about that, but everything else she's just much better at. That's her area of expertise. But anyways, Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Much love. And we will see you all here real soon again. for our equinox tracking fellowship. And I can't wait. And if you can all just be in prayer for my trip down there and the trip back as well. But Shabbat Shalom to all of you. And we will see you all very soon here in a few days, actually.
Shabbat shalom. Goodbye, everyone.